Good morning, good morning. How's it going, everybody? What a beautiful chart indeed. Look at that, guys. US dollar, Japanese yen. We had a short trade signal, and it worked to perfection. And this is one of the things that I was mentioning before about the power of this RSI system that we've started to incorporate. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous how accurate it can be. And the thing is that all we need is a small move off that higher time frame area of buying or selling. In this case, it was the selling zone. It was a 4-hour area of supply. All we need is a small little move. We don't need anything major to capture our 3-to-1. In fact, it's extremely high odds to catch the move, even if it's not going to continue to the downside. Okay. Because if you take a look at the RSI, let me show you something here. If you take a look at the RSI at the time when the trade was triggered, and you'll see that it was just above the 60, okay? Which tells us it has room to drop. Okay, that's the important part. It has room to drop. We're in supply. It has room to drop because RSI is at 60. And so that's what took place. The drop took place. And as price dropped, take a look at the RSI. Okay, over here it started to become oversold. Below 40, we got the rally up, but this move wasn't over yet. Okay. We got the move down again, and take a look. Now it's getting into extreme oversold territory. By that time, we're out. The trade's over, okay? Target is hit, 3-to-1, move, done. All right, that's all it takes. All right, and this new challenge that I'm about to start, this risk to riches challenge, this is all I'm looking for, is capturing these types of moves. All right, a 3-to-1, easy breezy off of higher time frame areas of supply or demand. Capture that move. RSI switches from being overbought to oversold, and we capture the move. That's it. What happens after that doesn't matter. All right, now listen, if we zoom out, right, this is the 15-minute chart. If I zoom out to the 4-hour chart, this is what we got. All right, we have price responding to a 4-hour area of supply, but we don't need a major move here to capture our 3-to-1, okay? And when we're looking at all the time frames put together, we can see that there's a mixture of different things taking place on the charts here, okay? A mixture. On one chart, let me show you something here, okay? On one chart, we have neutral bias. Why? Because price has already responded from the supply that we had up above. It started to produce a move to the downside, and now it's just sitting and coasting sideways. All right. And on one time frame lower, we have a bullish bias. Why is that? Because we have demand that was contacted. All right. So we have a slightly bullish bias here. All right. And then we look at one more time frame above that. Look at the daily chart time frame. What do we see here? Neither bullish or bearish, right? It's on hold. We're on hold to see what's going on here. No demand has been contacted as of late, and no supply has been contacted as of late, right? Price is just coasting sideways. Now, we were on the underside of that descending trend line, but we broke up through that. Doesn't mean it's going to go up, all right? So if you look at these 3 major time frames, right? Monthly, weekly, these are major time frames, monthly, weekly, daily. We're getting mixed signals. So to capture a trade within this type of market where the signals are so mixed up is pretty good, all right? It's pretty good. So we'll be waiting for the next signal, okay? Remember what the CFTC data has been telling us as of late with respect to the US dollar, Japanese yen. If we look at the short column, what can we see? Look at that, okay? They've been super aggressive with their shorts. So what does that tell us? That they're going to have to start taking profits, and they've done that. We reached 204. That was an all-time maximum size on short positions. We've since seen them start taking profits, reducing them from 204 down to 184 now. So that typically causes price to rally up. Okay, when we see a big closure in short positions, we typically see a price rally up. And what have we been seeing? Okay, a slight move to the upside. Okay, nothing huge, slight move to the upside. So what is going to happen here, folks? That's the question. What is going to happen? What would you guys say? What's your thoughts on the US dollar Japanese? You think it's going to go higher? You think it's going to go lower? Leave a comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I think over time it's destined to go lower. That's what I personally think. We have major supply forces that have been contacted back here, and that's going to dictate price's direction over time. This is what I see happening, right? The thing is, the reason why price is stalling right now is because we had a major amount of short positions that needed to be closed off. So even though we have higher time frame forces pushing price to the downside, which got triggered and initiated by the major selling, they've reached maximum size in selling. They need to take some profits. It's going to fuel a move to the upside. Good morning, my friend. So overall, we suspect price is over time going to be dropping. But what we're seeing is signs of a potential short-term rally before it turns over and heads lower. Where's that short-term rally going to take us to? That is the question, all right? That is the question. Don't know where that's going to take us to, all right? But that's the trade that we took on the US dollar Japanese yen. As you can see, we profited from such a small little move, but that was enough, okay? That was enough. That's all we needed, okay? And like I said, that's the power of trading this RSI system, is because all we need is price to contact a zone, small reaction from it, we pocket our 3-to-1, and we move along. All right, so let's take a look at gold. I know you guys are interested in what's happening with gold right now. Gold is contacting a 4-hour area of demand that was lightly tested back here. Okay, remember that area? Okay, so we were looking for a signal off of here for a long trade. And then that zone got taken out. It produced a supply. That supply got taken out, creating demand. Demand was used to facilitate a move to the upside. And now we're back at that area. If I switch it to the 15-minute chart, there may be a long signal being produced here, okay? Because this is a 4-hour demand zone, okay? A decent one. It was lightly tested, so I suspect that there's still going to be some institutional buying taking place here. So we're likely going to see a short-term momentum to the upside. So I look at the chart and I'm looking at the RSI. Price did not contact the demand zone here at this point, so we have to pay attention to when it did contact demand. And it contacted demand here. RSI was very weak, rallied up, produced a basing candle, a rally, but RSI was now above the 40, a little bit more above 40 than we would want to see. Now price is retraced again, contacting the or retesting this area. It hasn't actually come back into the demand zone. That's what I'd prefer to see, to look for a signal. I'd prefer to see it coming back into the demand area, producing the RSI of 40, and then we can look for the long signal, okay? But right now, short-term momentum to the upside is likely, okay? It's likely because of what we're seeing here with this demand zone being contacted. So what's going to happen longer term? Well, remember what I was saying about the US dollar Japanese yen, right? Short-term move to the upside, which would bring in short-term moves to the downside on the euro, the pound, gold. So we could get a very short-term move upwards from that demand zone before this continues lower. I mean, we had some institutional buying taking place here. We have major institutional buying here. So we have two spots of buying. One here, this one not as strong, but this one was not able to cause price to really get past these highs here, which is problematic because if we're going to get some sustained momentum here, we really need to surpass these highs and also close past these highs. I mean, we can get a wick past the highs, but that's not anything strong. What we want to see is that the banks are closing price past there, because when they're closing price past previous highs, they're showing their intent to continue pushing price in that direction, especially when we have institutional buying that's been coming into play. So we haven't seen that on the chart yet, so we should be cautious with longs right now. All right. Do I think over time price is going to go higher? Yes, I think over time price is going to go higher. But we have to be cautious right now because it may not go higher right this moment. Okay. So the demand zones that we had, they've played out. Okay. If I go back here, I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's go back again. Here is medium-term buying coming into play here, which is dictating price. Okay. And then we have shorter-term buying here, which dictated price. And then we have very short-term buying here, which dictated price. Now, if I take a look at the highs of price here, you'll see that none of this buying was able to get price past this area. All right, so visually you can see medium-term buying, short-term buying, very short-term buying. It all helped to facilitate a move to previous highs and did not surpass it. So that's a problem, all right? That presents a problem because if they were going to sustain this move, they would have surpassed the highs, okay? Especially because of the buying that originated from here, all right? Shrink yourself. You want me to shrink myself even more? Or you were looking at before? So I'm going to be patient here, guys. Do I want to take a long trade on gold? Of course I do. Yeah, of course I do. But not in this circumstance, right? Because I have to read the charts, and the charts are telling me that we had strength, but it's dying down now, okay? Look at the weekly time frame, okay? Look at that. Rally up, straight back down. Not good, right? These are the highs here. There's no closing above these highs, so that's weak to me. All right, and you know, if price wants to start dropping, there's really nothing to hold it up. Okay, again, let me show you something here. If I go back to this chart, we have significant demand down here. Okay, and then we have demand here, and then we have this demand here. Okay, let's go across here. So essentially what we have is a situation where if this breaks, price can easily drop here, okay? Easily. And if price gets down here, it's very likely that this will break, which will allow for price to easily drop down to here, going back to the weekly area of demand. So this zone breaks here, the 3320s break, we can easily get a drop down to 3140s, 3120s, okay? So daily time frame, there's that demand zone right here. It could definitely break through and cause price to drop lower, okay? This demand was already used to facilitate a move up here. Yes, it was lightly tested. We may get a short-term rally from that area, but I wouldn't put my money on it, okay? There's no trends to the upside here. Now, I know some traders might do something like this, okay? And they might say this is an upward trend. This is not an upward trend. All right, folks? How we teach trends here at the school is a very unique way of looking at price action. We're combining institutional buying and selling with drawing proper trend lines to discover whether or not the banks want to take price higher. I mean, just that information alone is priceless. It really is priceless, because once you know that the banks are focused on putting price or pushing price in a certain direction, you know, you have a lot of information in your hands there. Like I said, a lot of traders would be drawing trend lines like this, saying that price is in an upward trend. This is not in an upward trend. All right. So because it's not in an upward trend, it means that demand zones below it are at serious risk of being broken through. Serious risk. So that means price drops here, it easily breaks. Okay? To retrace back to the weekly. So let's take a look at the weekly and see what we have here. This is the only thing we've got that could potentially hold price. If price was to drop down to this area, there's the potential, strong potential, that we see price rally back up from here. But we'd have to watch for a long signal from there. So are we going to get a big retracement like that? That's a possibility. All right. Let's take a look at silver. I've been waiting on silver for a pullback for some time. So the fact that it's starting to give us that drop is indicating to me that gold is likely going to be dropping. Okay, so that demand zone that we were talking about, we could probably get a short-term rally off of it, but it's likely going to be short-lived, and then we're going to see a drop. On silver, the last major buying area was here, all right? And that got price to where it's at now. But for this to continue, you know, for a longer period of time, we need buying to come in on this time frame, on the monthly time frame. All right, and it needs to sustain itself. And if we look at the weekly time frame, that's what we got. Okay, and as you can see, we had a big imbalance here, which is nice. Okay, but this is not institutional demand. All right, the last area of institutional demand was contacted here. All right, and so as you can see, it helped to facilitate price all the way up here, but now we're pausing. So what do we need to continue the push higher? Well, we need institutional demand to come in at a lower time frame. So we snap it down to the daily time frame, and we have this area here. Okay, this could be a good area for entering into a long position. It's an area, after doing some analysis on, we discovered that this area is an important area for overall what is taking place on all the multiple time frames. Because if this area gets contacted here, and we see price rally up from this area, then this will be helping to facilitate the move higher on the higher time frames. Okay, and then eventually we could get demand coming in on the higher time frames, which will help to facilitate a move even higher. So I'm watching silver for a move like that. Okay, let's take a look at silver COT data. Here's the CFTC data for silver. Here's the positions of the big banks on silver. And what immediately stands out is that we have longs super aggressive, right? Longs are aggressive. All-time maximum size for long positions is 131,000. We're at 85, which is above their 13-period average, which means buying has been what they've been focused on. Are they focusing on shorts at this time? No. Not even close to focusing on shorts. And that's why short positions, when we look at the column, they're in blue. So shorts are cooled off. So right now they're in a buying mode, okay? So buying mode, and we have demand just below price. So this is looking good for a long trade. The natural gas looking really well. You know, we saw the demand coming into play, and so that's why we wanted to take a long trade. And now we are reacting to some supply, which is normal that we get a drop like this. So I'm not freaking out. I'm still holding on my long trade with the anticipation that price goes even higher. All right. So nothing to fuss about that. A little bit of a pullback. That's okay. I don't get freaked out by that. But overall, the trade is looking good. I'd like this to continue going higher. Make me my $1,000, and then I'm going to start the risk to riches challenge. I've been looking through stocks, I've been looking through charts, and there's so many opportunities. So many opportunities. It's just a matter of going through all of them, setting alerts, and waiting for those alerts to trigger. But I've got so many trades lined up for this risk to riches challenge. And if you want to join me on this challenge, become a member. Okay, now's your time to become a member at the school, because I will not be sharing these trades with the public. I may give one or two here and there. I will show you after the fact, or if I'm in the middle of the trade, I will show you those trades. But members will get the trades before they're actually activated, or when I actually get into those trades. Okay, so my entries, my stop losses, my targets, all that stuff will be laid out for you. All right. So become a member. Now's the time to become a member, because this challenge is about to start. All right, so let's go over to Aussie real quick and take a look at Aussie. So we saw that failed move to the downside taking place here off of that daily area of supply. And so far, it's just been sitting up there doing nothing. Now, let me tell you, man, if gold starts to drop, we could expect a move to the downside on this as well. But so far, there's been nothing in terms of a good quality signal for me to take. So I am passing on it. Euro, on the other hand, um, I see price rallying up towards this area of supply, okay, which is pretty cool. And the reason being is because we're seeing signs that price is going to drop on gold, on silver, right? And so with that, there could be a move up to this area of supply, and then we see a drop from it, okay? So I'll be looking at the 15-minute chart, watching for a signal, because all I need is that small little move down, and that's it, okay? So I'm going to be watching for that, and that supply area is up here. It looks really nice, and yeah, looks good to me. I look at Dixie, not seeing much in terms of Dixie. We're in the middle of the ocean here on the 4-hour time frame. We got supply above, we got demand below. If it gets down to this area here, we can definitely see a rally up from this area, okay? And that would be nicely timed with what we're seeing on the euro as well. All right, let's take a look at the pounds. And actually, let's go back to the euro for a second and take a look at the CFTC data. CFTC data is showing us that they are increasing long positions. Right? Look at the longs over here. You see how aggressive they are? So the banks are acquiring long positions. That's what they've been focused on. And we've known that because we were looking at price and we could see that that's what they've been doing, okay? But the data is confirming that. Right now they're at 208, which is above their 13-period average of 197, which is telling me that they're more focused on buying than anything right now, okay? Shorts, they've been not very cooled off, but they're kind of, look at the coloration, right? Kind of white, which means they're in the middle ground. So they're not really focusing on shorts right now. Could they start taking profits on those longs and that fuel a move to the downside? Sure, they could. And it would be well timed with what they're doing with the US dollar Japanese yen, right? In terms of taking profits on their short positions. So that's something that I will be paying attention to. So fueling a move from profit taking on longs could cause price to drop, only for them to reestablish a larger long position lower on the chart and then fuel a move to the upside. So I'm going to be watching for that as things unfold. Okay, pounds in supply. Okay, it was once tested, now it's being tested a second time, but supply is in play. And we have a reaction from a daily area of supply up here. Let's see, two tests there. I'm curious what happened on the 1-hour time frame. Yeah, we had this initial test here, one here. Yeah, there was too many bumps up there to give you a clean signal. But with supply in play, you know, we saw this drop to the downside, and it's not really doing much besides that. Could it rally up? It looks like there's an imbalance here that could potentially be demand. I'd have to do some further analysis, but let me see. No, I don't really see how it could be. But I wouldn't be surprised if it reacted from this area, okay? Huge drop from there, okay? Taking out these lows here. So yeah, it could be an area of an imbalance strong enough to drop price. So I'll be watchful of that. US CAD holding on the underside of that descending trend line. We see a nice push to the upside here. Yeah, but no demand being contacted, no supply. So difficult to time an entry here. We took a short position here, which was great. Worked out beautifully. We captured that move to the downside. But right now, there's nothing that I would trade on here. Okay. Let's take a look at their positioning, US CAD. Yeah, shorts are very cooled off. They started adding back into their longs, okay? And last week they took some off. So we could see a continuation of longs being acquired and it fuel a move to the upside. That's very possible. All right, something just to keep in mind. And US Swiss contacting demand. All right, it's still there. It's still holding that demand zone. So there's a potential for a rally up from here. We didn't get the signal that we're looking for here. All right, we were watching for a signal. We didn't get the signal. It didn't produce the move that we wanted. It started to make a move. It failed. So this is telling us it wasn't ready at this point. Okay, it could have been because of the weak RSI on the weekly. It's still very weak, the RSI. So are we going to get a long move, long sustainable move to the upside? Probably unlikely, but still short-term, maybe medium-term move to the upside is possible. And again, going back to the US dollar, Japanese yen, it makes it even more possible because of what we're seeing with their positions. All right. Let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I was looking at this one. It hit daily supply, gave us a little bit of a drop, and then we had this supply zone on the 4-hour that gave us a little bit of drop. What I'd like to see is whether or not price is going to continue building momentum down to here. If there's a spot that I'd be interested in trading, it'd be down here on the weekly time frame. I'd be interested in buying Bitcoin. Other than that, there's not much going on here. All right, ladies and gents, and that is it. I hope you got something out of that. I know I do every time I do these sessions with you. And that's it. Have yourself a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get ready, because next week we're likely going to start the Risk to Riches Challenge. And I'm going to start posting trades in the school forum for members only. And again, if you want to join in, don't complain to me after and say, oh, damn it, man, I could have done the challenge with you and I could have. I'm going to start it, and it's likely going to be next week. If you want to join in on these trades, it's up to you. Remember, I'm aiming to 10x my money in 10 trades. It's going to be fun. You take care. Have a good weekend.